statistics I wanted to give you guys. So we're bombarded by images every day. In fact, the average person sees about 400 to 600 advertisements per day. And one of every 11 commercials has a direct message about beauty. And in these commercials, we are seeing models and actresses who are actually nowhere near the average. For example, the average American woman is 5'4" and 140 pounds. The average model is 5'11" and 117 pounds. It's a big difference. And the problem with this is that the women in our society, they look to these standards for their personal concept of ideal beauty, and as a result, they internalize these standards that they can never possibly measure up to. So they compare themselves to these unrealistic high standards presented in the media. Almost 25% of adolescent girls have clinical levels of body dissatisfaction, mainly caused by social pressure emanated from family, friends, and media. And body dissatisfaction can very easily, and usually does, lead to disordered eating. So for my research topic, I believe that media literacy can be our tool to counteract this effect. If we're able to read the media and realize that most of the images that they're putting out there are altered, and are altered for a reason, they're meant to manipulate us, to make us feel insecure so that we will buy their product. So for my research, I wanted to, kind of figure out how media literate college women are. So I conducted some interviews and showed them a series of Photoshop images, one of them being the one on your handout. Thankfully, all of them were able to recognize that this one was absolutely altered. But this is a very, very obvious alteration. There are others that are not so obvious, but still have an effect on the way you feel about yourself, and they weren't able to point those out so much. And when I showed them the unaltered version, they were really surprised. But what I found most interesting was that after even learning that the photos had been altered, they still had the same effect on them. They still wanted to diet and or work out, and the reason was that whether or not they personally accept the enhanced ideal of female beauty, they still feel pressure to conform to it because they presume this ideal to be a norm that is widely accepted by others. So they know everyone else is seeing these images, and a lot of the girls mentioned specifically men see these images, and so that's what they learn to respect. So women, regardless of whether or not they know that the images are altered, they still feel like they need to measure up to these standards because they think that even if they know it, not everyone else necessarily knows it. So that was one of the main things. So it kind of leaves me, almost hopeless because then, okay, so what do we do? If you think everyone, so what I think is that we need to really, really work on educating everyone from a young age now, especially since media is such, it's everywhere. So if we can get these in the schools and start it from a young age, at least maybe the next generation won't have this problem.
Done.
Okay, can I?
Yes, please.
You talk about educating the viewer and making sure that everybody knows how to read the media and the media literate. And I was just wondering, do you think that the advertisers should be held at all responsible for some of the effects? And how detrimental are the effects really? Because kind of like the beauty myth, it seemed like from that book, it seemed like everybody had an eating disorder, and that's really not the case.
No.
And I'm just wondering, should the advertisers be held responsible, and how could they be dealt with, and just how damaging is the media really from what you found?
I think it would be great if the advertisers could be held accountable. I don't know how we would go about doing that because, I mean, freedom of speech, they have the right to do that. But I do think the effects are detrimental. I do think that they affect us. You know, you see a girl and she may not be, like most of the celebrities we see on TV, they do not look that perfect in real life. I mean, if you ever open, and one of the nice things is when you open up some of those tabloid magazines, they'll show you without makeup, with makeup, you know, they'll show you, which I think really helps people because it's like, okay, she actually looks more like me on a normal basis. And I think that can help. So doing things like that can also help. I think it would be great. I mean, a lot of advertisers have already started doing this where they've showed images of real women. And I think a lot of people take more to that because they can relate more to that. And I think that might be even a more successful advertising technique than making people feel insecure, or at least for some products. But, yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I have something, or is that doing on? Oh, cool. So, well, it's not definitely my research, but I have been reading on the subject where it's not direct, conscious, like, oh, I see this ad, I'm affected by it unless I have a eating disorder. It's the prolonged exposure to these images that creates that image in your mind subconsciously. So it's like the image of an apple. When you think of an apple, there is an apple just in your mind because of all the apples you've seen in your life. So what if people said the solution is instead to take these images because it's not, again, it's not conscious, even educating it, it's affecting you subconsciously. So people are still, when they think of an image of, you know, fashion or perfect body, these images are going to show up whether they're educated about them or not.
Right.
So what is your response to that?
Should we take all these images out? Yeah, we should. Can we? I don't think so. I don't think we have the power. I don't know if we'll ever really have the power because it's freedom of speech. The advertisers can do that. I mean, I don't know how we could go about doing that, but I think I agree with you. I think that would be the best way to stop this.
And media literacy is the only one that is plausible? Is that what you're saying?
Well, other than what you say, I think it's one of the best ways we can counteract the effect because if people realize, you know, because a lot of little girls look at magazines and they don't realize, they have no idea about computer effects and photoshopping and they don't know. These are 6, 7-year-olds who are just, you know, going through a magazine and they have no idea. So I think if they learn this from an early age, before they get this thinking in their head, I think that would really help.
I read somewhere that one person's point of view was they should have a little thing on it saying this image has been altered.
I read about that too. I think that's also a good idea. But then again, you still don't. Yeah, I think that would work. But I think children still need to be very educated on how they are altered, what has changed, just so that they know.
Do you think being told changes? I suppose so the image would still be like
It's still
altered, you know, like you still aren't seeing the real.
Yeah, it could help. I think a lot of adults now, since we're in this day and age, kind of like realize that they're altered. But I think if a child would see that, they wouldn't understand what it meant so much. So, yeah. But I think that's definitely a good idea, too.
Great questions. Thank you.